March 23rd, 9:30 and 2:40 a.m. Captain Michael "Iron Mike" Donnelly stood in the back office of the Cotton Club counting his money. $15,000 in protection payments from every black-owned business on Lenox Avenue. He'd been bleeding Harlem dry for 3 years, and nobody could touch him. He had the commissioner's blessing, the mayor's office in his pocket, and a badge that made him untouchable. What Iron Mike didn't know was that Bumpy Johnson was standing in the alley behind the club with a camera, a witness, and a plan that had been 3 months in the making. And in exactly 4 minutes, when that flashbulb went off, it wouldn't just destroy Captain Donnelly's career. It would break the NYPD's stranglehold on Harlem's businesses forever. The click of that camera shutter would echo through City Hall, through police headquarters, and straight into the pages of the Amsterdam News. Because Bumpy Johnson had just proven something the corrupt cops of New York never understood. You can't shake down an entire neighborhood when the neighborhood has a king who's smarter than you are. To understand how Bumpy Johnson brought down the most corrupt police captain in NYPD history, you need to understand Harlem in 1937. Dutch Schultz was dead, gunned down in a New Jersey tavern 2 years earlier. The numbers racket was thriving under Bumpy's protection. Madame Stephanie St. Clair had retired to the background, content to let Bumpy run the operation. For the first time in years, Harlem had peace. But peace came with a price, and that price was being paid to the NYPD's 28th precinct. Captain Michael Donnelly had been assigned to Harlem in 1934 with a simple mandate: clean up the neighborhood. But Donnelly saw something else when he looked at Harlem's streets. He saw opportunity. Every barbershop, every restaurant, every jazz club, every number spot, they all needed police protection, and Donnelly was more than happy to provide it for a fee. $50 a week for small businesses, $200 for clubs and restaurants, $500 for numbers operations. Pay up or get raided, arrested, shut down. It was extortion with a badge, and there was nothing anyone could do about it. Businessmen who complained found themselves arrested on made-up charges. Lawyers who fought back had their licenses threatened, and the few who went to City Hall found that Donnelly's connections ran deep, too deep to challenge. Bumpy Johnson watched it happen for months, watched honest people hand over their hard-earned money to a crooked cop, watched families struggle to make ends meet because half their profits were going to Donnelly's protection scheme. And Bumpy made a decision. This had to stop. But Bumpy wasn't like other gangsters. He didn't rush in with guns blazing. He thought. He planned. He studied his enemy. December 1936. Bumpy started asking questions. He talked to every business owner Donnelly was shaking down. How much were they paying? When did they pay? Who collected the money? Where did the handoffs happen? He built a pattern, a schedule, a complete map of Donnelly's operation. Then Bumpy did something unexpected. He started paying the protection money himself, not directly, never directly. But when Small's Paradise couldn't make their payment, Bumpy quietly covered it. When the barber shop on 135th Street came up short, Bumpy made sure they had the cash. He did it anonymously, through intermediaries, always careful to keep his name out of it. Why? Because Bumpy understood something about corrupt cops. They're greedy, and greedy men get careless when the money keeps flowing. January 1937. Bumpy approached a man named Jerome Washington, a photographer for the Amsterdam News, Harlem's most influential black newspaper. Jerome was 28 years old, talented, and angry. Angry about what Donnelly was doing to the community. Angry that nobody could stop it. "I need you to do something for me," Bumpy said, sitting across from Jerome in a back booth at Wells' restaurant. "Something that could cost you your job, maybe your freedom, definitely your safety." "What are we talking about?" Jerome asked. Bumpy slid an envelope across the table. Inside were detailed notes. Dates, times, locations. Every place Captain Donnelly collected his protection money. Every pattern in his routine. "We're going to catch him," Bumpy said. "On camera, with the money in his hands, and then we're going to make sure the whole city sees what kind of man is supposed to be protecting Harlem." Jerome looked at the notes, then at Bumpy. "He'll kill me. Not if we do this right, and we're going to do this right." For 2 months they prepared. Bumpy studied Donnelly's schedule until he knew it better than the captain did. Every Tuesday and Friday night, Donnelly made his rounds. Same route, same times. He'd start at the north end of Lenox Avenue at 1 a.m. and work his way south, collecting from 12 different establishments. The Cotton Club was always last. 2:45 a.m., like clockwork. The club's owner, a man named Clarence, kept the money in his back office. Donnelly would walk in through the rear entrance, take the envelope, count it, and leave. It was routine, predictable, and that predictability was exactly what Bumpy needed. March 20th, 1937. 3 days before the trap would spring. Bumpy met with Clarence in private. "I need to use your office," Bumpy said. "For what?" "To finish this. To end Donnelly's protection racket for good." Clarence studied Bumpy's face. He'd been paying Donnelly for 3 years. 3 years of handing over money that should have gone to his family, his employees, his future. "What do you need from me?" "Friday night, 2:45 a.m. Have his envelope ready like always, but this time, make it $20,000. Clarence's eyes went wide. $20,000? I don't have that kind of money. "I do," Bumpy said, "and I'm going to give it to you. Because when Donnelly sees that much cash, he's going to do exactly what greedy men always do. He's going to take his time counting it. He's going to get comfortable. He's going to make a mistake." March 23rd, 1937. The night everything changed. Jerome Washington was positioned in the alley behind the Cotton Club at 2:30 a.m., hidden behind a stack of crates with his camera ready. The office window was slightly open, enough for a clear shot. Bumpy was with him, watching, waiting. At 2:44 a.m., Captain Donnelly's car pulled into the alley. He was alone. He always came alone for the final collection. Didn't want witnesses. Didn't want to split the take. Donnelly walked to the back entrance, knocked twice. Clarence opened the door, let him in. Bumpy and Jerome moved closer to the window. They could see everything. Donnelly sitting at the desk, Clarence handing him the envelope, Donnelly opening it. The captain's eyes widened when he saw the stacks of bills. "What the hell is this?" "Business has been good," Clarence said nervously, reading from the script Bumpy had given him. "I figured I'd pay ahead. 6 months' worth." Donnelly smiled. That greedy, satisfied smile. "Clarence, you're smarter than I thought." He pulled the money out, started counting. 20, 40, 60 bills. He was so focused on the cash he didn't notice Jerome raising the camera. Didn't see the flashbulb being positioned. Bumpy gave the signal. A slight nod. Jerome pressed the button. Flash! The bulb exploded with light, flooding the office. Donnelly's head snapped toward the window. He saw Bumpy, saw the camera, and in that moment, Captain Michael "Iron Mike" Donnelly realized he'd been set up. He lunged toward the window, But Bumpy and Jerome were already running. They had what they needed. One perfect photograph of an NYPD captain counting $20,000 in cash that he had no legitimate reason to possess. Donnelly burst into the alley, gun drawn, but the darkness had swallowed them whole. March 24th, 1937. The Amsterdam News ran the photograph on the front page. The headline, NYPD captain caught taking $20,000 in protection money from Harlem business. Jerome Washington's name was on the byline. His photograph was crystal clear. Captain Donnelly sitting at a desk, stacks of cash spread in front of him, counting with a satisfied smile on his face. The caption identified the location, the date, the time, and it listed the names of 12 other businesses that had been forced to pay Donnelly protection money for the past 3 years. The story exploded. By noon, every newspaper in New York had picked it up. The Times, the Tribune, the Daily News. A photograph doesn't lie. And this photograph showed a police captain doing exactly what Bumpy had claimed, shaking down Harlem for personal profit. The mayor's office called an emergency meeting. The police commissioner ordered an immediate investigation, and Captain Michael Donnelly was suspended within 24 hours. But Bumpy wasn't done. March 26th, 1937. An envelope arrived at the district attorney's office. Inside were detailed financial records that Bumpy had been collecting for months. Bank statements showing Donnelly depositing thousands of dollars in cash every month. Receipts for a new house in Westchester that a captain's salary couldn't afford. Proof of payments to other officers in the 28th Precinct who'd been helping with the shakedown. The DA had no choice. He filed charges. 12 counts of extortion. 4 counts of racketeering. Conspiracy to defraud. Captain Donnelly tried to fight it. Hired the best lawyers money could buy. Called in every favor he had with City Hall. But the photograph was too damning. The evidence too overwhelming. And the public pressure too intense. On July 15th, 1937, Michael Donnelly was convicted on 8 counts. He was sentenced to 7 years in Sing Sing prison. 3 other officers from the 28th Precinct were fired. The NYPD's entire Harlem division was restructured. And something else happened. Something more important. The protection racket died. Not completely. Corruption never dies completely. But the blatant shakedown stopped. The weekly payments stopped. Business owners could breathe again. Bumpy Johnson never publicly took credit for bringing down Donnelly. He didn't need to. Everyone in Harlem knew. The photograph, the evidence, the perfect execution of a plan that had taken months to arrange. It had Bumpy's fingerprints all over it. Jerome Washington won a journalism award for the photograph. His career skyrocketed. He went on to document the civil rights movement, his camera capturing history. But he never forgot that night in the alley behind the Cotton Club. Never forgot the man who'd trusted him with the most important photograph of his career. Years later, in 1965, Jerome was asked about Bumpy Johnson during an interview. "People call him a gangster," Jerome said. "But what do you call a man who protects his community from corrupt police? What do you call someone who risks everything to expose injustice? You call him what Harlem called him, a king." March 23rd, 1937. The night Bumpy Johnson proved that intelligence beats brute force every single time. Captain Donnelly had the badge, the guns, the power of the law behind him. But Bumpy had something stronger. He had patience, he had strategy, and he had a camera that captured the truth. If this story moved you, hit that subscribe button. We're dropping Bumpy Johnson's most brilliant strategic victories every day. The moments where he outsmarted everyone who thought they could control Harlem. Drop a like if you believe real power comes from protecting your people, not exploiting them. Comment below. Could Bumpy have handled this differently? Or was this the perfect play? Turn on notifications, because next time we're telling the story of how Bumpy walked into Lucky Luciano's meeting unarmed and walked out with the deal that changed organized crime forever. Remember, in Harlem, respect wasn't bought with money or enforced with badges. It was earned through loyalty, intelligence, and the courage to stand against corruption, no matter how powerful it seemed.